To understand Korean, you need to understand Cheong. Cheong is the interpersonal glue, affinity, closeness, bonding. Han is the sorrow, resentment, and awe. Korean history is a series of disruptions and defeat and loss. Cheong is what embraces back together.
My name is Grace Kim. I was born in China, the lunar calendar, April 6, 1931. My grandparents and my parents left North Korea, their hometown, because after Japanese occupation and their control started, they could not stay there. My mother's full name is Song-do Song. At that time, they kept their maiden name, and she was born in North Korea. And she passed away 5 years ago at the age of 92. I remember always her image is prayer, praying for family and other people, and she served the church for a long time. My mother was raised by grandparents, but the grandparents was wonderful people. They built elementary school and started the school there in that town, and also a Presbyterian church. So my mother grew up in church. She went to high school and the seminary, but at that time, women were not ordained as a minister. So she was a church worker all her life as a volunteer. And she had a beautiful mezzo-soprano voice. She was a soloist and a Sunday school teacher, the women's organization president, choir director. I think she had done everything. My father's full name is Chun Chae-ung. If he lived now, he will be 100. And he passed away when he was 60. Although he was not a rich person, he saved the money and donated the money to independence movement in Shanghai, and then also scholarship for Korean students there. But he does not want to put his name. So nobody knew who is doing that, but later they all found out. He does not worry about money, what to eat tomorrow, but he worked hard. He said, "Oh, God will provide us." My father grew up in North Korea. His mother, my grandmother, was the most beautiful woman in that town. My grandmother always visited a poor family with rice and other vegetables because they are so poor, especially when young woman had a baby. She's the one always took something to those young women's home. My grandfather was a really gentleman, and he always sat around with his friends and read the books and discussed all kinds of things. And I think he's the one really made the decision, let's leave here. We cannot suffer here anymore, and left for China. And then eventually they went to Shanghai.
My mother used to play organ. So my mother is a romantic type. My father is an engineer, and he is more workaholic and more serious, and then he doesn't know how to make a joke. But my mother is a lively, sociable, and she is a romantic woman who write a lot of poetry and also like music. My grandfather was a medical doctor, although he was a farmer, but farmer, Oriental medicine, medical overalist, acupuncturist. My father was highly motivated toward higher education. So he went to Tokyo, Japan to study graduate school at the Tokyo Butsuri Gakko, which is a kind of Japanese MIT. He went to study civil engineering. I went to Tokyo kindergarten. This was just beginning of the Second World War. And my father had to work in the evening. So can not work during the daytime. He goes to school. He got sick, and then we had to come back to Korea. The first place we went to was Yongbyon, North Korea, which is now headline city because of the North Korea established the nuclear plant there, Yongbyon. Yongbyon is one of the most beautiful countryside town. That's where I went to school.
Because I lived in China, we were really underdog. Without having country, living in another country is not easy. But Japanese military government told us, you belong to us, so do whatever we say. You have to change your Korean name to Japanese name. So we had to change name. And my Japanese name was Tagawa Keiko. And my father sat and cried. He said, we even losing our name. We lost the country, we lost the name, and we lost the home. And then really they struggled to make a living. But in Shanghai, just before end of World War II, he had a really wonderful business. That was a taxi business. So he was very successful for just a short period. And then we had to leave. One day in Shanghai, B-29 came and dropped a leaflet. And it was written in Korean and English and Chinese. My father went out and picked one. And he said, oh, this is a great news. We can go home. So I said, what do you mean? Because the Japanese people always said that they were winning the war. So we just believed that. But this leaflet said they are not winning. They are losing, and the war will be over pretty soon. So all Koreans and the Taiwanese, if you like to go back to your own country, this is the time.
Toward the end of before the Second World War, all these students at Osan Chunghakyo, as well as all the young junior students, were mobilized to put in the military labor camp in Pyongyang under Japanese occupation. Those days are very, I cannot say happiest, but memorable period, because they laid the foundation for my subsequent ideas development and the character. And especially Osan Middle School was a foundation for me to be more mature Korean nationalistic ideas. So Pyongyang factory was Bob Wyatt. We were there kept for 1 year and a half. We were trained to be exporting the machinists, cutting the bullets and all kinds of lace work. So we were able to produce Japanese weapons